some trends. And give you a little bit of overview of what AnswerClick is. I know we have a few attendees on who probably haven't seen or haven't been a part of some of our other presentations. And then I'll hand it back over to Yves and Jeannot to talk about the chat tool and the actual what we're here today to celebrate is the launch of this functionality inside AnswerClick. So if you could, Jen, go to the next slide. So I want to start out, and I'm going to show you a couple of statistics we got from Gartner. So call centers 10 years ago. I think if you've been in the call center industry, which I know a lot of the people on the phone today have been, I think we all pretty much know that as of 10 years ago, over 80% of all the traffic that came into the call center was through the telephone. Email was second. Web self-service and web chat were very minor percentages, and then there were other forms of communications coming in. So if you could go to the next slide. Now, just over the last 3 years and trending through next year, they estimated that the telephone traffic will only make up just under 35% of the actual communications. Call centers is an outdated word. People 5 years ago, I remember hearing contact centers start to come up, and really, truly, the trends are clearly pointing towards that direction. The telephone, email communications, web self-service has taken huge leaps, chat, and then, of course, in the other category, we've seen the proliferation of social media. And other forms of communication. So I think it's pretty obvious to all of us. You ask anybody in the outbound or inbound world where communication channels are heading, and you'll hear almost every time that the phone is slowly decreasing in usage. So next slide. Now, I wanted to bring this up real quick to just show you some simple average cost per interaction. We all know it's expensive to have phone interactions. Email is significantly less, and web self-service is by far the lowest cost. There's some other costs that should be represented in this chart but weren't as part of the study. The social media, because it still requires, if you're utilizing an agent-driven social media strategy, it still requires a live agent. The costs are, pretty close to the phone costs. It just depends on your strategy and how you deliver it. But there's other means of communication, that I know that are bordering around the email cost of just under $6 per interaction. So next slide. All right, so this changing evolution, and I'm going to get into what we see as the kind of the way that the world of the contact center is shifting. Some of the levels, the satisfaction levels are at risk, obviously, in this new world. 92% of all customers form an opinion about your company based upon the interactions of your contact center. And 80% of the companies out there, and I hear this all the time dealing in technology, working inside the call center field, 80% of companies believe they provide superior customer service, but only 20% of the customers actually agree with those. And then 73% of the millennials, the people that we're servicing heavily, and the growing faction of the people that are buying our products or services, are after one single bad experience, they'll leave, and 85% of them will tell everybody or tell someone else. In the world of social media, we've all seen examples of where a bad experience has gone viral, thanks to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all these different forums. Something is what used to be as simple as the United experience of a man's guitar getting smashed, and then the guy writing a song about it, putting it up on YouTube, getting 9 million hits. I think that's a pretty obvious example of the way that negative experiences can impact a brand significantly, and that's just one example. So next slide. All right, so some of the contact center evolutions you can see between even just 2008 to 2011. Web chat has increased, emails increased. The one portion that has increased the greatest in that time period has been web self-service. IVRs have actually shown a decrease, and telephone communications have shown a decrease. Again, another example of what we all know to be true is that the call center is converting into a contact center. The other means of communications are critical. And we've got challenges inside the call center industry because the customer's expectations are shifting right along with it. They expect live interactions in the way that they want to interact with you. They expect consistent experiences across all your channels. It's not an easy thing. It used to be, a week to 2 week training time period for a call center agent because the only form of communication they did was, through a call. Things like scripting and CRMs with talk-offs and, and rebuttals and all the things we used to use were great for a single form of communication, but how do you cross-train? How do you ensure that your messages and your customer's experience is consistent across all channels? Not an easy answer. We're still trying to, of course, I think everybody in the contact center industry is trying to figure out how to lower your expenses while increasing your customer sat. It's a difficult task, especially when you're adding on more and more channels of communication. So, 50% of all self-service interactions today still, though, require an actual live agent. And I think that's an important statistic to understand because a lot of companies are implementing self-service portals, methods, some way to be able to provide consumers or customers or people the ability to find their own answers. But even with that, obviously, we still have not figured out how to implement tools or technology to, to answer those questions well enough so that they don't have to follow up and make a phone call back to, support or service. So next slide. So this is what I was referring to as, the evolution. I call it the new ecosystem. There are many forms of channels that are coming through. There's the voice, the knowledge base, which represents the self-service, portal on your website, chat tools, email, SMS, and text, and social media. Now, the reason why this is a new ecosystem is because today you should be able to, with the technology, implement communication channels through one single point to be able to manage that data, understand it, categorize it, and be able to make value out of it from all parts of your business. Not just service support, but marketing, sales. This deluge of data that's going in to all the companies today. It's just extremely difficult to track and understand and be able to do something with unless you've got a single source. So you've got your systems like Coginov's core application, which is a semantics and a natural language processing engine, which I'll kind of get into a little bit more. Tools like that are critical for the new ecosystem in customer and consumer communications today. So next slide. All right, so real quick, why Coginov? There's because of these trends, we've clearly recognized this. On the outbound side, I've heard of some pretty crazy numbers as far as contact rates dropping from 60 to 70 down to 30 to 40%. In calling, in just the telephone communications. We've seen these trends going on for a while now. We're always on the lookout for, at the call center code, for technology that's, cutting edge, that allows us opportunities to provide, needed services for our contact center clients, ranging from, anything from inbound to outbound services to, every aspect of the contact center. But the problem is how do you do it? When we were looking at technology, typically we always like to think of the call center tool, the main hub, as the telephony piece. But that's not so much the case anymore. So we ran into Coginov and created a partnership, and together we worked together on AnswerClick and developing a solution that can act as a central point or a focal point for the the multiple channels of communication. We call it a customer engagement tool. There's a lot of different pieces inside it. So when we go on to the next slide, and I'll talk a little bit more about what makes it all up. So AnswerClick, in its core, at the center there, it's a semantics and natural language processing engine. There's obviously a database underneath it driving it, and you've got your rules engine that you can set up. Now, around the outside, one of the things we obviously had to take into consideration is working with Eve and Janelle and their team is to figure out a way to put this up in the cloud. I think it's essential today to be able to roll it out quickly, implement it under multiple companies, and do it effectively and efficiently. It only made sense to utilize the cloud infrastructure to do that. So in the cloud area, you've got the knowledge base combined with the live dashboards. Now, the surrounding it are the ancillary forms of communication. You've got your mobile applications, which AnswerClick is available in a mobile app that you can have developed for your own company, where they can actually use your knowledge base right on their Android or Apple device. It allows them for quick searches to be able to find exactly what they're looking for inside your knowledge base. The SMS tool, to listen, monitor, and understand text messages. Social media, obviously, again, listen, communicate, understand, the information that your consumers are passing to you. Email, to be able to read, interpret, and be able to generate automated answers, via email, or the virtual agent, the self-service model. I'll talk a little bit more about the virtual agent side as we get going in the self-service. And then, of course, the chat, what we're here to talk about today. So all of these different forms of communication are various channels that I'm sure you've either considered or are moving forward with inside your contact center. So, this gives you kind of an overview of what AnswerClick is. So next slide. Now, one of the first things anybody ever asks me when I start talking about AnswerClick, I say semantics. Or natural language processing, and oftentimes if they're not technical or a data person, their eyes gloss over and they fall asleep by the time I'm about on my third sentence. So I apologize. I'll try to get through this and make it as painless as possible. So what semantics and natural language processing allow us to do is we're able to read, understand, and interpret information in the form in which we speak it, natural language. So it's things like being able to determine the difference between vanilla ice versus vanilla ice. One's a wrapper, one's a flavor for an ice cream. Depending on the context and the way that it's used, you can easily determine which meaning that is. Now, semantics allows you to do modeling, modeling of concepts, creating weighted concepts represent for different text, mapping specific identities, and then matching and going beyond the standard keywords. When we think of search engines, knowledge bases, FAQs, they typically are done and driven based upon just simple keywords. So you search for a sentence, and you'll have 3 or 4 keywords in there, and the algorithms will try to do their best to match those based on those keywords. Now, what semantics and natural language processing allows us to do is actually read, interpret, understand the content and the concepts, and then be able to define and show and display one single answer to one question. So whereas your typical search engine is thousands, hundreds of thousands of answers to one question, the whole point of this solution of AnswerClick at its core is to find that one right answer. So the whole idea is to work smarter, find the right answers, deliver it to your consumer, and give them the type of engagement strategy or experience, I should say, on whether it's through your website or whether it's through other channels of communication. So next slide. All right. So Real quick, AnswerClick, at its core, again, utilizes semantics, natural language processing to deliver the right answer to your consumers or to your customers who are searching on your site, or to your agents who are searching inside your knowledge base internally. There's a lot of ways to deploy AnswerClick, but this is a quick image of a dashboard to give you an idea of things that you see on the fly as you're utilizing the AnswerClick suite. So you see things, common, frequent terms, questions with answers, questions without answers, some statistics on, the number of questions per visit, and then of course you've got it split apart, multiple different time ranges, and then there's always going to be the custom reporting or the more static long-term reports to look at analytics. But these are live dashboards that are actively running that you can monitor and understand, and what's going on inside your knowledge base or inside AnswerClick. So next slide, please. All right, so I mentioned I'm going to talk a little bit more about the self-service or the virtual agent. Virtual agents today utilizing this type of technology it's different than what we used to know. You used to come on and ask a question and again, using keywords, it would try to evaluate and come out with the right answer. But it'd usually give you thousands of answers or potential answers, and you'd have to dig through those. With a technology like AnswerClick, you can integrate a real virtual agent that's not a recording. It's actually utilizing the engines and the technology to create to find the right answer, and then have an avatar like what you see here in the picture actually read that answer back to the person on your website. These virtual agents, they significantly increase your customer engagement. You provide a very interactive way with images and sound that will allow your customers or consumers or visitors to your website period to have a much more engaging experience around it. So this is kind of a next generation. There are a lot of larger companies who have implemented similar technology. It is very much within reach of any consumer or any business, I should say. Definitely not free by any means. However, the technology is there, and the price tag is no longer in the hundreds of thousands of dollars just to implement something like this. So with that being said, I know I've kind of talked your ear off. We're not to the part yet of the launch, but I wanted to give everybody some background, understand what AnswerClick is, some of the technologies that we're surrounding it with, and now I'm going to hand it off to Janelle and let them take it from here and show you what we've got coming.
Thank you, Fred.
You bet.
So the customer engagement approach refers to logical steps that are engineered to provide riskless customer engagement service regardless of the interaction channel. The goal of customer engagement approach is not only to provide service to customers as they move among communication channels, but also to deliver appropriate business rules to determine the next best action, information, or process with which to engage the customer. Today, when customers have questions about an organization's products or services, they have many options from which to choose. Should they start with the self-service option on the company's website, send an email to customer service, initiate an online chat session with the customer service agent, consult the company's mobile phone app? So regardless of which channel customer choose, they want easy access to an accurate, consistent answer. So in order to do that, we suggest to start by implementing the knowledge base and the self-service functionality from the web. Why? Simply because the knowledge system are not by nature married to any particular channel of communication. In fact, to be fully effective over the long term, they should offer the possibility of access by call center agents, web agents, customers, and partners, or by any combination of the above. In other words, the knowledge base should be multi-channel resource. So knowledge management ensures that all agents give the same response to the same inquiries. Once consistency has been achieved, answers can be modified to improve success rates in some area. Based on that knowledge-based foundation, the next step is to prioritize all communication and messaging across all your channels. This inventory is the foundation for identifying opportunities for leveraging content across communication channels. The diagram on the slide provides a typical example of an incremental implementation starting with the chat channel up to the more complex social media channel. Next slide. So as consumers increasingly rely on multiple contact channels for conducting business, it's more important than ever for companies to tie those cross-channel interactions together and ensure that they have actionable data in order to achieve their customer engagement strategy. So one of the best ways to improve customer engagement is to turn your organization into a customer-centric one. As an example, here are some customer engagement strategy you can implement today by using AnswerClick. So you can answer all your customer questions related to new product feature and update, reduce response time to customer queries through multiple channels, listen to your customers, measure, test, and adjust your program for greater return. So for the next slide, I will pass on to Yves.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Jano. Thank you, Fred. So what we wanted to do today is talk about the chat, specifically the chat channel. Traditional chat channel have been a two-way street where you have a customer and you have an agent. What we've done is really have integrated the semantic technology that Fred was talking about to make it a three-way street, if you will, where on one end you have the customer coming in, and you have a virtual agent in between him and the agent, so that when you ask a question, when you're pushing a request to via the chat, the first thing that will happen is the system is going to query the knowledge base and try to push an answer if it has one. Or if it doesn't, or not sure, it will try to suggest an answer to the agent so that quickly he can or she can respond to the request. The idea is always the same. Is we're trying to make sure that we lower the number of resources needed, so lower the number of agents needed, and that we get the best response possible to the customer in a fastest way possible. So some of the features, like Fred said, we wanted something that was totally cloud-based or could be installed in premises as well. But the idea was having something that was 100% web-based. Evidently, with chat, you need the ability to have the online, offline. Offline being, I'll push you to to email, or I'll push you to a virtual agent or something, and still allowing the customer to engage. You should have the ability to implement your strategy, like Jeno said, whether it's pull, push, or co-browsing. Pull being, the customer is requesting a chat. Push is, I see you're browsing on my site, and I just wanted to make sure that if you have questions, you know that we're here for you to answer your question. And co-browsing is similar, as as the customer is browsing your site. You're trying to figure out what he's looking for, and you're maybe able to push him suggestion or push him ideas of what he's looking for. It should be flexible. The idea is different departments like your customer service department or your sales service department will have different strategies. Customer service, you're trying to make sure that the customer gets a quick response. Sales, you're trying to see what product the customer is looking for and how best you can help them with information that will support their buying patterns and so on. It should be multi-agent, multi-chat, so that if you have multiple departments, you also have people will have more will be more at ease, let's say, with customer service, and more at ease with sales or marketing. and evidently it should be multi-chat so that an agent can handle multiple chat at the same time. The idea of our chat is to be able to route the request coming in to a department, to an agent, or to multiple agents at the same time, so that the first one available will provide the answer. Agents should have the ability to transfer a chat. If during the process of a conversation with your customer, suddenly you feel that what they're looking for is more of a sales type information scenario, then you can push them to your sales specialist within your chat conversation without interrupting it or telling the customer to hang up and restart. As Fred and Jenov mentioned, should be integrated your knowledge base, because the idea is to lower the need of multiple agents, so reduce the number of agents. So get as much as possible a standard and proper answer to your customer's request, and by the same token suggest different possible answers to question or request to the agent, so that he can decide on the fly which one is more appropriate for the customer. Chat should have the ability to rate your sessions or rate the agent that you've interacted with, so that you make sure that if you're happy, you say so. If you're not happy, then we can certainly bring new information on board or make changes so that it will not happen in the future again. And evidently, you have the ability to do real-time profiling of your customers, because you need to understand where this customer is coming from. Is he coming from a close-by state? Is he coming from more of a global market? Is he local to you? And what's his history of click-through? Where has he been on your site? What type of information does he seem to be looking for? What type of product is he reviewed, and so on and so on. Next slide, please. Evidently, you need to be able to monitor, control, and make sure that your system evolves, whether it's the knowledge base, whether it's the type of questions or the type of information you're providing. You need to be able to control and monitor that. So you have alerts, new chat requests, for example, coming in, new response, new suggestions. From a dashboard point of view, you need to see what your traffic is like, what type of chat requests you're getting, what type of response you're providing, ratings and agents available, and so on and so on. And from a knowledge base point of view, your knowledge base is something that keeps learning and evolving over time. So you need to be able to control it. You need to be able to see, if it's up to date. For example, somebody comes in with a question about a new product. Well, that information needs to be updated because it may not be available. The agent will try to provide a first line of response, but your knowledge base needs to be updated. So again, the ability to do that on the fly, to know what's there, what's not there, search it, and so on. And evidently you need reports. You need to be able to see your statistics. You need to understand what people are looking for, and so on and so on. So to understand your trends. And at some point you may have to look at chat logs, either from a security point of view, from a customer handling point of view, for a different reason, but you need to have those available to you. Next slide, please. So what does it mean in terms of implementation? Well, implementation is pretty straightforward. It's not rocket science. It's very straightforward. The first thing you do is you set up your departments, your agents. You decide, your knowledge base, how it's going to be structured. Is it going to be shared? Is it going to be a single channel knowledge base with the ability to, move information from one to the other, or is it going to be a centralized knowledge base? And then where it's going to get integrated, whether it's in your website or, at different levels of your website with different methods, whether it's a, button or a push process or whatever, you need to make decision on the strategy, integrate it to your social media pages like Facebook and so on, and then you're ready to start engaging your customer. You accept requests, invite, co-browse, all of those available. And then, like I said just on the previous slide, you monitor, you improve your knowledge base to ensure optimal quality of service level, because that's the only way you're going to make sure your customers are always get the most latest and up-to-date information, but also get the best services possible, so they enjoy their experience in return. Next slide, please. So some of the ideas, you can integrate it multiple way, like we said. It could be just a sliding button. It could be, offline, online, offline type buttons. Anything goes. It's very flexible, so we can, we design or you suggest color schemes and buttons and so on. No problem, because all of that is easily done and easily integrated into your sites. Next slide. So, you got different ways of initiating this chat. Like I said, you have the ability to, from the customer point of view, to initiate a chat. So the first thing you'll do is you'll greet him on, welcome to our chat, and you'll start with the basic information of probably a name and a email address, maybe at some point if you want to push more information or have a way to get back to this person. You could also ask for phone numbers and stuff like that. That's all configurable. And if somebody is browsing your site, and at some point you want to let them know that you're available to answer any questions they may have, then you can just have a little pop-up and with a button to say, when you're ready, just don't hesitate and start chat, and I'll be there waiting for you. Next slide. So, here's just a very quick sample of, I got a question that came through, and the knowledge base had the answer already available, and there was a high certainty of that was the question, and the answers pairing to it was again, using semantics, was just right on, so we can push the answer. And at that point, the user can say, well, no, it's not the right answer, so we can filter it a little bit more, get more into it. We can say, do you want to start a chat? Do you want to send us a mail? Or just want to go back and keep browsing the site? So all of those are, again, configurable and available to as part of the product. Next slide. So when I was talking about the idea that the agent now, instead of from an agent point of view, traditional chat, the agent gets a question and he does a quick search into the knowledge base and try to find the answers that are most applicable to the situation, and then tries to push that response to the user. What we wanted is we wanted to make sure that, because we know and we understand the context, and we have the ability to read the question and pair it to the type of information the customer is looking for, that what we wanted to do is save a little bit of time and provide the ability to quickly suggest the response that are more appropriate for this situation, so that the agent, right from his dashboard or his screen, actually I should say, can decide to say, okay, out of those three that you're suggesting, here's the one I want to push because that's the one that makes more sense. And then again, you learn a little bit more about the type of conversation your agent is having with your customers, and the next suggestion is going to be a little bit more precise, and so on and so on. So again, using the ability of understanding context and sense to make sure we shorten the process a little bit and get the ability to support our agents a little bit better and get the answer and the best response possible to the customers as quickly as possible. Next slide. And then, we talked about this before. When the user is about to close the chat window, we want to make sure that if he is happy, he has the ability to state it. If he's not happy, again, has the ability to state it, because the only way to improve our services is to understand what the interaction was like, both from a chat point of view, and from an agent point of view, because some agents will come across better with different customers and so on, or vice versa. So again, just the ability to rate and so that we can improve the process. Next slide. So at this point, I'll pass it back to Jeannot. Thank you very much.
So as Yves and Fred mentioned during the presentation, many benefits could be gained when an organization achieves its customer engagement. So on this slide, you have a list of the main benefits by using AnswerClick. One of the quick ones you can get is having the solution available online 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. And as you can guess, for many companies in the US, having a customer engagement solution to work in English and Spanish is a major benefit. So let me outline some additional benefits you can get. For example, you can enhance your company image and reputation, which is very important. It's also possible to allow company to take advantage of customer knowledge to improve market awareness and identify future needs for new products and services. So social communities can be used for new product feedback, shortening product development time, for example, and you can also increase sales. So now I will pass on to Jen.
All right, I want to thank everyone for coming to the presentation. I want to thank Fred, Yves, and Jeannot for their work on the presentation. We do have some questions coming in, so let's get started with the Q&A portion of today's presentation. So it looks like my first question is from Anne, and it says, how does the AnswerClick chat tool differentiate from the standard chat tool?
Fred, you're muted.
Of course I was. Do you mind if I take that one?
No, go ahead.
So, you know, basic chat tools, I think we probably talked about, we probably answered that question pretty heavily, but I'll go back into it. You know, the standard chat tool is a two-way communication, you know, from agent to consumer or to customer. You know, AnswerClick at its core, again, using the natural language processing and semantics, you know, is able to interact with the consumer before the agent even gets involved. And if it doesn't have the accurate answer, or to a percentage point where whatever threshold your company sets, then it can then engage an actual agent that's online to help interact with that agent. Now, one of the great things is the more you use it through your agents, the better it gets. So every time an agent answers a question correctly, you know, and drives that answer to that question, the system knows that information, stores it, and can then pull that answer up as the accurate answer moving forward. So there's a significant difference between even what we know as our standard knowledge base or you know, FAQs all the way through to the chat tool. It's kind of, it's what makes AnswerClick so powerful is that we've integrated all of this technology into one solution.
All right, great. We have our next question from Jose. I understand the use of natural language processing on the front end of your avatar, but how is it used, if at all, on the back end? Is the back end just FAQ responses?
Well, maybe, Fred, I can take this one.
Yeah.
The idea of natural language is that the conversation that you're having, whether it's through the virtual agent or the chat agent, is you need to understand the context and the concepts that are being pushed forward. And so the natural language is the way we speak, the way we ask a question. So from a front-end point of view, that's easily understood. From a back-end point of view, again, the idea is you're trying to map one question to one answer, but the one question can be asked in many ways. So the only way that you can do this is by truly understand what the question is all about, but also understanding what the answer is all about, what the information that you're looking for is all about. So you know, contextualization and understanding and being able to interpret both what's being asked and what has to be responded needs to be to have the ability to go beyond just the keyword type interaction. You know, I'm not looking for two words that are in proximity. I'm looking for a concept that is, you know, it means a certain context, a certain it has meaning within that conversation. Whereas keywords, you know, multiple keywords would just, you know, give you multiple answers possible because those keywords may be seen in all of those answers. Whereas the, you know, with the semantics and the natural languages, you understand, you know, the two words together are a concept, and this concept, you know, will give you a higher degree of precision and the ability to better respond to your customer.
All right, thanks, Yves. Our next question comes from Rose. If it finds only one answer and that's the wrong answer, what are the options for additional choices? Well, the way that the system works, oh, sorry, Fred, I'll put that one to say again. The way that the system works is it kind of, you know, a little bit like a search engine. It tries to rank potential answers. And you know, what we work at is defining the threshold of when that answer is a good answer versus a bad answer or a so-so answer and so on. And that's why we will put suggestion, and we will make, you know, we'll only push response to the consumer beyond that threshold. Otherwise, we'll make sure that in the case of a chat, that the agent gets involved. In the case of the virtual self-service, we will push, you know, different, did you mean this, and here are the suggestions if you meant this. So there's different strategies, but the idea is always to map a one-to-one as much as you can. But we all understand that it's not always possible because, you know, we may have not seen this type of question before, or it may be asked in such a way that it makes it a little bit more harder to decrypt and understand what we're actually looking for. Or it may be a multiple level question, and then again you need to get more information about the type of question being asked so that you can respond better. So all of that is something that you control from the back end. You know, and you learn a lot from the dashboard as well. You learn, you know, what type of question you know, got the best answers. Some of the question, you know, we're close to threshold, but we're not quite to the threshold. You need to understand why. So you need to improve your knowledge base. You need to improve the information you push to your agent. So all of that is an ongoing process. But again, the idea is that you have the tool and the dashboard available to you to monitor and control that so that you can improve over time, make sure that your customer is always getting the best. Also, the rating system may give you some other indication as well. Great. Bill has our next question. Once the AnswerClick chat is up and running, what do you think is a reasonable estimate of how long before personnel costs can be reduced by layoffs?
So, who wants to take that one?
Yeah, that's a tough one. It all depends on I mean, there's so many variables in that. If your goal is to reduce staff through, you know, through adding a module like this or a product like this, you know, clearly you're going to do as well as the data that's implemented and the activity that's implemented. You know, I think that's the variables to figure out when is the right time or when you can start reducing staff is always so dependent on an organization level of communication, number of chats, you know, active agents. I mean, there's so many variables. I could never possibly answer that. The one thing we do know is that statistically, within about 90 days, roughly, right, Yves, you guys have been experiencing a kind of a plateau point where you get to that roughly 90% accuracy rating. And that's really the goal, is through a self-service portal, if you can get to the point by seeing, understanding what questions are being asked, developing the right answers, after a very short implementation period, you get to the point where you're answering 90% of them in a self-service format. So whatever to a company, 90% self-service reduces in costs on agent side, that's going to be your determining factor. And it's all, again, it's all in what you put into it. If you implement any knowledge base or any solution, and you don't put any effort into it, and don't spend time to ensure that you're getting quality answers and refining it, then you're going to get out exactly what you put in. So no, there are some things that during the implementation process, like information audits, that can help build out your dictionary and structure your question and answers in an automated fashion through Coginov's team. But you can also implement it in a very static process where you actually implement all your questions and answers and build out your knowledge base yourself. So I know that goes beyond the question, but hopefully that answered the original one.
Okay. Lisa is with our next question. Is the cost based on number of live agents using the chat?
So, do you guys mind? I'll take that one too.
Go ahead.
I would I would highly recommend speaking with one of our account executives. However, the price structure is based upon implementing the core solution, being AnswerClick, the knowledge-based tool, and then the chat modules or add-ons, which are by agent pricing. We don't tend to get into pricing. My EVP of sales will smack my hand if I talk too much about it, and she will too. So I'll let them talk to you guys. It all depends on your environment, implementation. Of course, we're always going to structure pricing based upon company's needs and overall number of agents and activity and stuff like that. So I would highly recommend talking to our salespeople through that though.
All right, and Todd has a question. Can you describe the process of knowledge base creation if we have our knowledge in multiple sources or systems?
Well, maybe I can take this one again. Well, the process is looking, often it's about looking at a little bit of history in terms of understanding what type of interaction you've had in the past, if you had such a way to capture the information, or we could look at your website and scrape off and do an audit and understand what type of information is there, so we can start identifying what type of question it's addressing and so on. Or we can just take it from your standard fact as a starting point and then just improve over that. There's different strategies here possible. The idea is you need to start with a minimum. Sometimes it's 50, sometimes it's 100 questions, depending on the type of traffic flow you have, the type of how wide you want to cover as well. Because if you just want to do customer service, then that's maybe easier because you probably have a bunch of FAQ already built with this, and you already have a certain database set up with information that your agents are using, and so you start with the minimum, and what you do is every day for the first month or the first couple of weeks you go over the type of question that got asked, the one that got answered, the one that didn't get answered, because the one that didn't get answered are the most critical at that point in your knowledge base setup, because those are the ones that you need to address quickly, so that again, like Fred was talking about, over time, and usually it's within like a 60 to 90 day period, you achieve what we will call a high level of response rate with the best possible response that you have, and this way, your knowledge base starts with maybe 50 questions or 100 questions, and end up with 500-600 questions. And if you add to that all the derivative of each question, meaning that the different ways of consumer has to ask a question, it may look like a knowledge base that has over 12 to 1500 questions. But again, the work is seems big, but it's not a lot of work just to get it going, because you do it over time. You start with a small number of questions that address most, as wide as possible, scope as you can, and then you just keep improving it over time.
There is, and just to touch on or add to that, I know part of the question, I'm looking at the question, the reason why I noticed this, is asking about the knowledge in multiple sources or systems. One of the things we haven't touched on is Coginov, itself is it actually provides, I mentioned it, an information audit, but they're also a big data solutions provider. And part of this information audit can be implemented on a full network, over multiple different data sources, multiple different file types, structured and unstructured data, can read, interpret, and categorize and help develop and put together your core initial start of your knowledge base from multiple different data sources. So, if you've been historically tracking emails as communications for support, but you have no way of analyzing or understanding those emails or the answers your agents gave, you can actually, the information audit can spider and read and interpret those emails because they're unstructured data, and be able to help build that along with your FAQs or your existing knowledge base and combine it to generate your starting point or to create your starting point in your knowledge base. So it depends on, as Yves was saying, I mean, you can implement at a very, very simple level if you want, and build it from there. If you're very wide and you're trying to stretch across multiple divisions in a larger corporation, you can easily take a look at an information audit and utilize the spidering and the scraping of the website and the different forms of your data to build it out for you. So it just depends on your overall strategies and your goals for your implementation.
Okay, we'll take one last question from Shane. Can you give an example on how to implement the AnswerClick system?
There's, I think we kind of talked about quite a few of those. You can implement it. Sorry, guys, I keep jumping in. It's habit. You can implement it externally on your website. You can implement it internally as obviously a knowledge base to, to drive answers back to just your agents if you don't want to do it on an external. You can implement it to monitor your social media site, your chat. You can. There's a bunch of different things. I think at its core, we've kind of talked about it though. The initial implementation should always look to the knowledge base first, because that's the engine and where all the rules and everything is defined under the hood. As you add on the modules above and beyond that. And I think Jeannot touched on it. It's critical that that piece not be solely focused on just one channel. It should be multi-channel across anything. So that may mean tool sets that you already have in existence that need to be integrated. There's an API set as part of the the AnswerClick that the tool can actually be integrated to your current chat tool, or maybe you've got other monitoring tools that are out there. So I know we're at the top of the hour, Jim. So I hope that that gives them some ideas of how to implement it.
All right. Well, I want to thank you, everyone, for the questions, and thank Fred, Yves, and Jeannot again for their presentation.
Thank you.
We appreciate your
Thanks.
attendance. Don't forget to watch your email for future webinars, and we hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.